Hi folks, feels like a long time since I last put a video on this channel. Quite a lot of stuff has happened in the last few months, but thank you for your patience. And I've got a new treble viol piece to show you. Do you ever go on courses and there's a table of second-hand music and you think, I mustn't look because I'm not allowed to buy any more music, and then you see something that you just can't quite resist? So I found a suite by Marc for treble viol or pardessus de viol, Dove House edition here. There's a link below the video to an online facsimile. It's pretty clear. If you've got the facility to just increase the size of something when you print it, I would recommend that you do that. There's plenty of space in the margins for you to increase it, even just by a few percent. I think it makes it easier to read. Or this is Dove House Viole de Gamba series number 29. And I've been looking at the Musette from the first suite in the collection. I love it when you can, when an instrument really lends itself to the style of the title of the piece. So it's really easy for a viol to imitate a musette because we have so many strings. It's really easy to set a drone going and to play alongside it. And that's a real feature of this piece, and I think it works really successfully. So shall we just have a look? It's French, so it's full of ornaments. There are all sorts of squiggles and wiggles and ornament signs, and actually quite a lot of fingering in here. Marc obviously played with diatonic fingering all the time. I actually don't do that on my treble. I finger a treble just like a bass, and I use diatonic fingering when I need to get to the top fret. So don't always do exactly the fingering that he's suggested, but if you play with that extended fingering all the time, you'll find that most of what he's written is probably what you would do anyway. And I'm going to start this on a back bow. I'll count you in, and let's just play the first phrase and see what happens, shall we? So we'll try 1, 2, 3. I'm just going to stop there because there's an awful lot of things to think about in there. I've followed his fingering exactly here. The little plus sign, the cross over the third note, just a mordant. So one wiggle with your second finger. Your first finger should already be down from the F sharp before it. So it's quite an unintrusive ornament, that one. There's another mordant at the start of the next bar, but it's preceded by a little G grace note. So what you actually get is the lower note first, and I think that should come on the beat so that you hear it against the harmony before the mordant happens afterwards. So you get 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. There's a trill at the end of this bar. So the comma is a trill. It's going to start on the upper note, so start on the A and trill down to the G, but there's a grace note before it, so you actually end up effectively starting your trill on the lower note on the G, and then there's a written out turn at the end of the bar. It looks very complicated. It goes... Did you get all that? There's quite a lot happening, isn't there? So you play the first two printed notes, you play the G grace note, you trill, and you put a turn on the end. Shall we try it together from the top? Just the first 4 bars with all that twiddling. So 1, 2, 3. Did you get it? I don't know about you, but the thing I find the hardest is to keep this hand moving really smoothly. Effectively what this hand is doing is going 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. You're playing one string for 4 whole bars. There's no string crossing, there's nothing. Every note's the same length. It's this hand that's frantically busy trying to fit all this knitting in over here, and this hand has to just keep swanning along as though there's nothing to see over here. So just keep your bow moving. Don't let your right hand know that your left hand is thinking. Here we go again. 1, 2, 3. Gonna go on. And we'll stop there. So I'm going from bar 5. Mordant. Yeah, seen one of those before. Trill, starting on the upper note. So we start on the G and trill down. Same again, here's a mordant. Trill, but we're already playing the G. So you can just put the trill directly on the second quaver. And the same here, we're playing the A, which is the upper note of the trill. So we can put the trill directly on the second quaver. You need to resound the F sharp at the start of this and catch the A string while you're at it and trill down. So that's the first time in, I haven't got any bar numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. First time in 10 bars that we've played any string other than the top one. The right hand has just been backwards and forwards on the top string, and now you need to just move an absolute tiny fraction, a few degrees round the curve of the bridge to catch the A string. Make sure we don't get, oh, double stop. Must catch 2 strings, must work hard. Just let it slip in. Happens all the time accidentally, doesn't it? We catch an extra string. So it's a tiny fraction of a movement. Shall we go from bar 5? Just do that second half of that first phrase. Bar 5. 1, 2, 3. It's really pretty, isn't it? It's such a lovely sound up there. If you can get it to just be relaxed and flowing. I really like this as a theme. Let's go from the very top. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to go on. It's really effective, isn't it, with this continuous drone underneath. Really quite hard, I think, to balance the 2 strings so that you favour the top string and the drone doesn't kind of blast out and cover everything you're playing at the top. Let's go from where that drone starts then. The top line is basically the same as you've played at the very beginning. It's got all the same ornaments in it. You're just adding the A string underneath it. So shall we just start from where the theme repeats itself with the A string underneath? And now it's the same kind of idea with the bow, but we're in this position. Rather than just the D string on its own. So we've moved a few degrees, but the bow is still just back and forth doing exactly the same thing, and all the movement goes on in the left hand. Here we go then. So 1, 2, 3. I love the way by adding in that static drone at the bottom, you get to hear things move in and out of dissonance and consonance against that bottom string. And you get to hear the upper note of your trill as a proper dissonance before it trills down. And you can sort of hear that in your mind in the first phrase, but you hear it properly and really against that drone when it comes in on the repeat. Let's go again from halfway through that first section where the drone in the A string starts. So 1, 2, 3. That's our theme, and it's going to come back in between each of the couplets that we learn in between. Going on then. Now this is getting pretty high for a treble. We get all the way up to the top D, but let's not panic about it just yet. Ignoring the A string that's underneath, just let's tune that top bit. So we've got a first finger on the top fret, whole tone to the B, whole tone to the C sharp, and the D right next door. And the trick, I think, up here, I mean, let's be honest, this is a pretty scary place to be on a treble. Okay, the potential for it to sound terrible is quite high. So the worst thing you can do is to play it as though you're worried about it, because I guarantee then it is going to squeak and it's going to sound like you're thinking. If you play it completely convincingly, totally relaxed and very smooth with the bow, so occasionally it's going to be out of tune. Okay, so I was a bit high, but the sound was fine. If you play tentatively and then also slightly out of tune, you win nothing. If you play absolutely, completely convincingly, use the whole bow and be very smooth and very gentle about it, be nearer the bridge than you might like to be because you're thinking, oh gosh, I'll just keep back and I'll stay out of trouble. Again, absolute disaster. You guarantee to get that terrible strangled treble sound. So get nice and near the bridge. You don't get any pressure on. You're right near the heel, so there's loads and loads of weight already going into the bow. Just move towards your right. And get all the way to the tip and come all the way back and be ever so relaxed about it, and life will be fine. Shall we play it? I'm going to add the A string underneath because actually it's quite comforting to have something a little bit less high that grounds us underneath. This is the first couplet. 1, 2, 3. It is a bit like walking a tightrope up there, isn't it? Just watch where you've got your thumb at the back. If you've left your thumb halfway down the fingerboard, you've no chance at all of reaching this. If you've taken your thumb in the same shape that it's in when you play down here, then at least you've got something that kind of feels a little bit familiar. Most people will find that there's one note that they persistently either overestimate or underestimate. So you'll find that you always tend maybe to make your C sharp a bit high, or you never quite stretch far enough for the B. And often you'll find it is the same note that is out of tune in the same direction. You find that we're more consistent than we give ourselves credit for. So just take a bit of time to work out what your tendency is, and then to see if you can correct it to get up there accurately. And once you're happy, just assume it's going to be beautiful, and it really will just flow. We've got to add a few ornaments into this. Mordant. Trill coming up, but it's going to start on the D, and we're already playing it. it's just the same again, isn't it? Mordant, trill, and this is where you wish you'd perhaps played it on a pardessus rather than on a treble viol. But it's ever so good for us. Let's do it from the beginning of the first couplet. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Breathe a sigh of relief and let's go on. It's nice to be down, isn't it? So this is from where the forte marking is. After all that ridiculously high stuff, we start on an F sharp. Now this trill needs to start on the D. You might as well start with the finger that you're on. Start on a 2 and use an open string, because then we're down, aren't we, for the next note. Start the trill on the upper note. Start with the finger that's there, open string, and I would tuck this in because I think it's crucial that your chord comes on a forward bow. Fingering for the chord, I'm sure you've got it, is a 2 on the A at the bottom, 1 on the C sharp and a couple of open strings. Top tip with chords, I'm sure I've told you this before, start to play the bottom note, worry about the other notes afterwards and spread it once you've found the rest, but start playing the bottom note. Even if you haven't found the C sharp, it's completely fine. You've got longer than you think to do that. This is halfway through that couplet, starting on an F sharp. 1, 2, 3. And then we go back to the top and we repeat the theme. So back to that at the very beginning. I won't do it now. We'll move on and we'll look at the next couplet. So this first triple, the first 3 quavers that are slurred together, we've got to put those all on one string. So we have to start with a 3 on the D. It's no good trying to slur that across the string. I think we've got plenty of fingers and plenty of frets on the A string. So let's start that with a 3rd finger. 1, 2, 3. Now don't panic. What on earth is going on in there? Okay, so it's all right to start with, isn't it? Mordant here, and my 2nd finger is still down on the C sharp from where I started. So far so good. Just reach your 1st finger back for the F sharp. That's all right, isn't it? Now, this is genuinely, it's quite tricky because there's not a lot of space on a treble fingerboard for this. Don't move from where you are. You've got your 1st finger on the F sharp and an open A string. Add your 2nd and 3rd fingers. It is quite a squash, but you need to do it with that fingering so that you can trill both of those fingers together. Good luck. And then you move the same pair of fingers over to the E and the C string. I think this bar is actually the trickiest bar in the piece. It's not the stuff that's really high. It's not the stuff that's at the bottom of the page and has the semiquavers in it. It's this one where it's just a little bit fiddly in terms of space on the fingerboard. So that section starts, reach back, stay there and add 2 and 3. Trill with both fingers and move 2 and 3 across the string. He suggests 3 and 1 there. My 3 was kind of busy, so I've gone for 4-1 on that chord. just essentially use whatever you've got lying around. You need to get a nice in tune fifth there. If you're at an awkward angle, you're going to get all sorts of wonky tuning, and you need space to bar the 1 across to play the F sharp at the end of the bar. So just give yourself as much room as you possibly can. Shall we try that from the beginning of that section? It really is quite tricky, so don't panic if you don't get this immediately. That's what practice is for. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. How did you do? I still can't quite play that, and I have practiced it quite a bit. So, you know, it's good to have challenges, isn't it? Shall we go on? Mordant and little grace note A in between. We're just going to keep the bow moving and flick the A string. This next bit, I really can't do the fingering that's marked. This is all right. What I can't get round is all the open A strings. So I'm afraid I've cheated a bit in here. If you fancy seeing if you can do the fingering that's printed, do try it out. But I'm putting a 4, barring my 1, 4, and that's how it seems to fit under my hand. I've had a go at a few different things in there, and that's what I've come out with. So shall we go from the 5th bar of that couplet that starts on a D and has all those little A's flicked underneath. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to have another go at that because it actually wasn't very tidy. So here we go again from the same place. 1, 2, 3. My tendency, I think, is to just move too far when it comes to the string cross. And it just gets a bit lumpy. They're so close together, these strings. If you find yourself moving too far, just experiment with how little do you need to move with this hand? How small a movement do you need to make to oscillate between those two strings? It's very hard to control if you move too far. Shall we go on? So after that double stopped 5th. 1, 2, 3. Let's have a quick look at that section. So trill on the upper note, turn at the end and repeat the F sharp. There's quite a lot going on in there. And a nice strong F sharp on the downbeat before you put the mordant on the G. The trill on the E there, we're already playing the upper note, aren't we? We're already playing the F sharp. So just get on with the trill, that's fine. Resound the D on the beat before you play the mordant. We're already playing the C sharp, just get on with the trill. Mordant, resound the D. And then we hear both strings together before you put the mordant in. I hope you got all that. Let's just do that section, shall we, from where the forte marking is. 1, 2, 3. So the upper line of that second half of that section is basically the same as what you've just played. We're now adding that Musette style A string underneath, but the ornaments are the same. Apart from here, we don't have the A going on underneath all the time anymore. You've got to keep the D sounding because it's a crotchet while you add the F sharp underneath. Repeat the D. Move the lower part to a G. Trill on the upper string. That section, it looks, that 2 bars, it looks quite complicated and it sounds quite complicated, doesn't it? This 2 parts. It's not as difficult as it looks because you never need any kind of chordal fingering. You do literally have a finger per fret. There's a little bit of wiggling and a little bit of double stopping, I get it, but it's nothing too complicated. You're just adding into what you're already playing and then you stay there. 4-finger trill, not everybody's favourite, it has to be said. And then the chord sits right under your fingers. It's not as bad as you think, that section. Let's go from the do, the quiet version, where we've added the A underneath that repeated theme. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. And this is just like the beginning. Until you get here. Looks terrifying. It's absolutely fine. Don't panic. We're going to go on. Ready, go. Just keep the right hand moving all the time. What I would do in that is just practice it without the drone at the bottom, and I'd follow the fingering that's at the top, because if you don't, you're going to run out of fingers when you get to the, particularly when you get to the B at the top. If you've used your 4th finger on the A, you're going to regret it. You'll be 1 finger short. Should we just go from where the semiquavers start? Just keep the right hand moving. 1, 2, 3. Third finger at the top. I've really enjoyed learning this over the last few weeks. It has taken a few weeks. You know, don't panic if you don't get all of the ornaments and all of the double stopping and a beautiful sound and everything in tune straight away. You can hear that occasionally I'm missing things, or just catching an extra string, or just not being quite 100% on both frets at the same time. It's tricky stuff, but I think it's really charming. So I'm going to play you a bass line. Here comes a bass line then. I'm going to do all the da capos, so you get to return to the theme in between each of your couplets. The one at the end is written out with the semiquaver decorations in. count you 3 in. Here we go. 1, 2, 3.